Is called in accordance with Article 30 of the Kies Verordening, the Electoral Ordinance, in which the Central Voting Bureau will decide on the validity of the list and also maintaining whether or not we're going to maintain the candidates on the various lists. It is so that postulation day was on August 8th. The day after, as prescribed by law, you had the endorsement day. 3 days after endorsement day, the Central Voting Bureau has convened a meeting in order to examine the list. After doing so, we have informed the political parties of the various discrepancies that we have actually encountered. All political parties were informed of our conclusion to the examination of the list, and they were also requested, they were provided with the opportunity to remedy their discrepancies within a period of 3 days. And the law also prescribed the day after the deadline of the remedying of the discrepancies that the Central Voting Bureau needs to, in a public hearing, decide on the validity of the list and also the maintaining of the various candidates on the list. As such, we're here this morning in accordance with Article 30 of the Kies Verordening. As you can see, I'm not here today by myself. I have other members. These are my colleagues that form part of the Voting Bureau. We have 5 members and 2 extraordinary members. Today, all votes that are taken will be, of course, with in accordance with the law. And without any further ado, I would like to introduce the other members of the Voting Bureau. To my left, I have Mr. Patrice Gums. We also have Mr. Bas van der Bos. To my right, I have Nerissa de la Rosa. And I also have Ms. Tamara Richardson, who is the Vice Chair Lady of the Central Voting Bureau. We also have 2 other members, which is Cindy Marica and Anastasio Baker. Without any further ado, we will proceed with the voting on discussing the validity of the various lists. We will do that in the order in which the lists were submitted on postulation day. As such, we will start with the United People's Party. United People's Party, they have submitted their list, and we have examined their list of candidates, because as per Article 22, it says that it's postulation day. They have to submit the list of candidates, those candidates that will be postulating themselves for the parliamentary election. And they have also, after doing that, we have actually examined the list, as I mentioned previously, and upon the examination of that list, we encountered a number of discrepancies. They were informed of such by a letter of August 15th, and they were given the opportunity to remedy those omissions or discrepancies. After checking as well the remedy thereof, we have seen that on the Model 2 form that the addresses and the typos and names, they have been remedied, as well as the decrees from the Electoral Council that were not submitted, they have now also been submitted. We do see that now every default has been remedied by the United People's Party. As such, I would like to put to a vote on the floor by the Central Voting Bureau if we can decide on the validity of the United People's Party. Is there anything, members, that we need to bring forward regarding this party before we put to a vote? No? Okay, as such, let's vote on the validity of the list of United People's Party. The motion on the floor here is to approve the list of candidates of the United People's Party to contest on in the parliamentary elections of September 26. All in favor, please raise your hands to vote for this list. I take note that The Central Voting Bureau has approved the list of the United People's Party, and as such, the United People's Party will be placed on the ballot and it can contend in the parliamentary election. We move on to the second party that submitted their list on postulation day. That is the Hope Party. The Hope Party, we have also examined their list, and we have encountered a number of discrepancies. The Model 2 form, we noticed that there were also mistakes in the addresses and also the date of birth of some candidates and the text format as well. That was remedied. We also take note of the fact that the picture was not in accordance with the measurements. A new picture was submitted. That is also remedied. We take note of the fact that the first day on August 9th, the endorsement was did not receive the requisite amount of signatures of 146. As such, the Hope Party was given the opportunity to remedy that. They have done the remedy thereof on August 16th. And we have now concluded that the Hope Party has reached the requisite amount of signatures in order to partake. We take note of the fact that on the second day, the Hope has obtained a total amount of 213 signatures, and as such, they have reached the requirement. We take note of the fact that the Hope Party has also remedied the discrepancy of the documents that needed to be submitted by the Electoral Council, and one decree was submitted. The other decree was not, hence they remedied that discrepancy, and now they have met the requirement of submitting both decrees from the Electoral Council. Just to be to clarify, 2 decrees of the Electoral Council, it is stated in the law that 2 decrees need to be submitted, the documents. First decree is that a party is registered at the Electoral Council, and also another decree stating that the abbreviation that a party is allowed to use. So we may take note of the fact that both decrees were submitted by the Hope Party. As such, the Hope Party has also met the requirements of remedying all discrepancies that we have encountered and that we have basically sent them a letter to on August 15th. Members, I look at my colleagues. Basically, I think we're ready now to vote on the validity of the list of the Hope Party. Is there anything else that should be brought to discussion prior to voting on this list?
No.
Gentlemen? No. As such, the motion is to vote to approve the list of the Hope, the Helping Our People Excel Association, to participate in the parliamentary election. All in favor, please raise your hands. We have a unanimous vote. As such, Hope Party will be placed on the ballot and will be allowed to participate in the parliamentary elections. Moving on to the following party that submitted their list on postulation day is the St. Martin Christian Party. The St. Martin Christian Party also received a letter on August 15th requesting them to remedy their discrepancies. As we've seen in the Model 2 form, the discrepancies were the date of birth, were not mentioned. They were mentioned in the slot of the districts. The districts were mentioned instead of the date of birth. That was basically remedied. We've also seen that the addresses were also in the wrong column, the incorrect column. And we've also taken note of the fact that the decrees were not submitted, the decrees of the Electoral Council as well. The St. Martin Christian Party has remedied those discrepancies, and as such, I think that we are ready to proceed to vote on the validity of the list of the St. Martin Christian Party. Are there any other remarks that need to be brought to the table, gentlemen, ladies, prior to vote? So we're ready to proceed in voting?
Yes.
Okay. As such, the motion is to vote on approving the list of the St. Martin Christian Party to participate in the parliamentary election on September 26. All in favor, please raise your hands. It is unanimously voted that the St. Martin Christian Party's list has been approved and is allowed to participate in the elections. Moving on to the following party is the One St. Martin's People Party. The One St. Martin's People Party also received a letter from us with the discrepancies that we have encountered, and the various discrepancies, indeed, like other lists as well, that the addresses were not correct. Also, in terms of the way they were mentioned on the list of candidates with the addresses, and we also took note of the fact that the Model 4 form was filled in incorrectly, where the Model 4 form is basically stating that you have to make a payment of 2,000 guilders at the receiver's office on the name of a voter. We took note of the fact that that was not done. A payment was made, however, it was not on the name of a voter. That was requested to be remedied, and it is now remedied. Both decrees of the Electoral Council were not submitted by the One St. Martin People Party, and that has now been remedied. Both decrees have now been submitted, and as such, they have met that requirement as well. I think those are all the various discrepancies that we requested them to remedy, which they have complied with, and as such, I think we can put this to a vote. I look at my colleagues. Are there any other things that need to be brought forward prior to voting in regards to this party? No. Okay. As such, let's vote to approve the list of the One St. Martin People Party. All in favor, please raise your hands. Unanimously, the Central Voting Bureau has voted to approve the participation of the One St. Martin's People Party, the validity of the list, and as such can be placed on the ballot. Moving on to the following party is the People's Progressive Alliance. The People's Progressive Alliance has also received a letter requesting them to remedy the discrepancies. There are discrepancies as other parties as well. The addresses were incorrectly mentioned on the list, and we also noticed that the format in which the date of birth was mentioned, it was inconsistent. Some it was done in the American format, some was in the Dutch format, not in terms of language, but abbreviation thereof, and that needed to be rectified, which has been done. Those discrepancies have been remedied. Also, the Model 4, the declaration from the receiver's office in which the amount of 2,000 guilders needed to be placed on the name of a voter, that was incorrectly done. As most parties, what they have done is they have placed it on the name of the party, but the Kies Verordening requires that that amount is deposited on the name of a voter. So this also has been remedied, and both decrees of the Electoral Council have also been submitted because they omitted to submit those as well. As such, they have complied with the different discrepancies as mentioned in the letter that was given to them on August 15th. And as such, I think that we can proceed in voting on the validity of the list that has been submitted by the People's Progressive Alliance. Are there any other matters in regards to this party should be brought to the table for discussion prior to deciding? No? Lady? No? Okay. As such, we vote to approve the validity of the list of the People's Progressive Party. All in favor, please raise your hands. Okay. As such, that motion has been carried, and the People's Progressive Alliance will be placed on the ballot. Their list is decided as valid. Moving on to the following list, which is the St. Martin Development Movement. The St. Martin Development Movement received a letter from us as well with the discrepancies that we have encountered. And in the Model 2 form, we've seen that that indeed the addresses were not mentioned correctly. There were some errors in the addresses. And we have stated, we have encountered the fact that both decrees of the electoral councils were not submitted. Those were the two discrepancies. And those discrepancies have been remedied. As such, they have met the requirement, and we have nothing further to state in terms of discrepancies because those discrepancies have been remedied. Are there any other points that need to be brought forward in terms of this list? I look to my right prior to voting.
It should be noted that they did submit one form of the Electoral Council. The registration was submitted, so the only omission was the abbreviation to be used by the party.
That is duly noted indeed. Thank you very much, Ms. Richardson. The ordinance from the Electoral Council, not ordinance, I'm sorry, the decrees of the Electoral Councils, two of them were supposed to be submitted, but however, only one was submitted, and then they had to basically submit that other decree, which has now been complied with indeed. I look at my left. Are there any other points that would need to be brought to the floor prior to? Yep. Okay. As such, we can move forward in voting on approving the list of the St. Martin Development Movement. All in favor of approving this list, please raise your hands. Okay. As such, it has been decided unanimously that the St. Martin Development Movement, their list has been approved, and as such can participate and will be put on the ballot for the elections of 2016. Moving on to the following party, the Democratic Party of St. Martin. The Democratic Party of St. Martin, we had no remarks in terms of Model 2. Model 3, there was one discrepancy that was found. That's the consent form of candidate number 1. We did have a consent form from candidate number 1. However, only the last name was mentioned on that form and not the first name or an initial of the first name. As such, that discrepancy needed to be remedied. We have noted that that discrepancy has been remedied, and the other discrepancy that we have encountered was the Model 4 form, the declaration. That declaration was also placed on the name of the party as opposed to on the name of a voter. That has now been remedied as well as the both decrees of the Electoral Council. They have now been submitted. I look to my other colleagues prior to voting on the validity of the list of the Democratic Party of St. Martin. Are there any other things that should be brought to the floor prior to voting on the validity of this list? No? Okay. As such, the motion is to vote to approve the list of candidates of the Democratic Party of St. Martin. All in favor, please raise your hands. Unanimously, the Central Voting Bureau has voted to approve the list of candidates of the Democratic Party of St. Martin, and as such, said party is allowed to contend in the parliamentary elections. Moving on to the following party is the United St. Martin Party. The United St. Martin Party has received a letter from us with the discrepancies which we have encountered. We said in Model 2, the discrepancies have been remedied. We're looking at the addresses. They were done incorrectly. Those discrepancies have been remedied. We also took note of the fact of the Model 3, the consent form. The consent form, we noticed that there were a consent form that was missing from candidate number 15, which is Thomas. The United St. Martin People's Party were giving the opportunity to remedy the consent form, to remedy that in order to submit a consent form for candidate number 15. As well, take note of the fact that we did not see the declaration from the Central Voting Bureau stating that candidate number 15 is an eligible voter. That opportunity was given to be remedied. Also, in our in the submission of the remedies or the discrepancies, what we have noticed is that they have remedied the list of candidates, but we have also taken note of the fact that one candidate was added to the list as candidate number 15. Now, that one candidate was added to the list as candidate number 15. That is not allowed. We have voted that that will not be allowed because that candidate was not on the list of candidate that was submitted on postulation day as is prescribed in Article 22. Now, Article 22 says, of the Keys Verordening says, that the list of candidates need to be submitted before the Central Voting Bureau on postulation day between 9 and 4 p.m. Now, that after remedying the list that now they have submitted with the corrections, which has an additional candidate, another candidate now at slot 15, that candidate was not on the list that was submitted in accordance with, that should be submitted in accordance with Article 22. As such, we are not going to allow the addition of that name to be put on the list of candidates. Again, it's the list of candidates that is submitted on postulation day between 9 and 4. That is what counts, and we cannot look at any addition otherwise, because that is what needs to be submitted as prescribed in Article 22. Which leaves us with the following. Model 2, which is the list of candidates that's leading. Now, we take note of the fact, as I just mentioned, that candidate number 15, Mr. Thomas, he is mentioned on the list as a candidate which was submitted on postulation day on August 8 between 9 and 4 p.m. Mr. Thomas, we do not see that he has submitted a consent form. We have also taken note of the fact that the declaration of the chairman of the Central Voting Bureau indicating that he is an eligible voter, that is also missing. As such, we take note of Article 32, paragraph 2, C and D. It states when you have those defaults, those omissions, and you have not remedied those omissions, Article 32, paragraph 2, under C and D prescribes that the Voting Bureau will have to eliminate that person or remove that person from the list. Now, we will propose that as a vote right now. I look at my colleagues. The motion is to remove candidate number 15 from the list of the United St. Martin's People's Party, candidate number 15, which is Thomas C.K.W. The motion is to remove him from the list as in accordance with Article 32, paragraph 2, C and D. All those in favor to do so, please raise your hands. It has been unanimously decided to remove candidate number 15, Mr. Thomas, from the list of the United St. Martin's People's Party based on Article 32, paragraph 2 under C and D. Which brings us to the following point. The rest of the list of the United St. Martin's People's Party has the discrepancies that we have encountered, they have been remedied. As such, that is not a problem. However, now we also have to vote in how, given the fact that candidate number 15 is removed from the list, what happens now? Does that mean that the list, the other names from 16 going upwards, if they are going to shift down others, so to go from 4, that 16 would become 15 and 17 will become 16 and go so on. Question is, how do we decide on that? Now, we have done our research. We have also looked in the legislation. We have looked within the legislation within the kingdom, the other parties, the other countries within the kingdom. Now, we see in the Netherlands, for instance, the Netherlands, their kieswet is a bit silent on that. However, in their explanation thereof, they say that it has to be consecutively numbered. However, that's not in their law. But we're dealing with our legislation here on St. Martin. Our legislation is very silent where that is concerned. Our legislation does not provide us with the authority as a central voting bureau to shift numbers of candidates. It is silent. As such, we do have that discretion as well as a central voting bureau. It is not prohibited, it is not mandatory, as the law reads in the legislation, to move numbers, as we just stated. As such, we have decided that the candidates as have been submitted in their order and the numbers on the list of candidates that were submitted on postulation day will remain in that order as well. That is the motion. I would like to put that formally to a vote. The vote is right now, colleagues, is to approve the validity of the list of the United People's Party, the United St. Martin Party, the USB, to approve that list, take into consideration that we have eliminated candidate number 15, and also that all the candidates will remain in the slot on the number on the list as have been submitted on postulation day. All those in favor of that motion, please raise your hands. And such has unanimously been decided. The United St. Martin's Party, the list is approved, and as such, that party will be able to participate in the parliamentary election with the note that candidate number 15 will be removed from the list, and the other members, the other candidates, will maintain their position on the list as have been submitted on postulation day. Which brings us now to the National Alliance. That was the last party that have submitted your list of candidates on postulation day, August 8th. We took note of the fact that on their list of candidates, there were 2 errors in terms of the addresses. The addresses were noted incorrectly. Those 2 discrepancies have been remedied. There was also another discrepancy in terms of the documents from the Electoral Council that were not submitted. Those documents have been submitted now, and as such, they have complied with the remedying of the discrepancies that were mentioned in the letter on August 15th. Before bringing this to a vote, I would look into my colleagues. Are there any other things that need to be mentioned? No. The motion on the table right now is to approve the validity of the list of the National Alliance as such they will be able to participate in the parliamentary election. All those in favor, please raise your hands. It has been unanimously decided to approve the list of the National Alliance. Those were the lists of candidates that have been submitted on postulation day. We have voted to approve all the list of candidates. As prescribed by law, all decisions or any decisions that have been taken today by the Central Voting Bureau, any voter is allowed to basically appeal these decisions at the court in first instance within a period of 2 days. That will be in accordance with Article 33 of the Electoral Ordinance. Within 2 days, that will mean on a Sunday, as today is basically a Friday. However, Article 133 prescribes that in the event the deadline falls on a weekend or a holiday, that day will go to the first following business day. As such, you will have until Monday in order to file an appeal. We will have a process verbal of this hearing. That process verbal will be completed this afternoon. As you can see, my colleague, he is here with the computer and has been diligently recording what has been transpired this morning. We will have that document ready by this afternoon, and there are 2 representatives of each political party to the voting bureau, in which communicates with the voting bureau, and that process verbal will be sent to the representatives this afternoon as well. I look to my colleagues. Are there any other things that need to be brought to the table prior to closing this meeting? Mr. Lorosa, Ms. Richardson, Van der Bosch, Mr. Gums. As such, I close this meeting, and thank you for coming.